I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending January the 26th. And boy, did we have one for the good guys on Friday. Wow, just what a great day. Your board met resistance to those that were trying to break it on Thursday, and it just couldn't be stopped on Friday and come back real strong. That pretty much erased the chance of the Packers being able to beat the cash fat cattle market down, and then they ended up giving a lot more money than everybody really expected, and it made the basis even better. It was just a great day. The cattle on feed report, although the analysts did miss the placements on the short side again, it wasn't horrible, and you might could call it slightly bearish, but it's not going to be enough for anybody to really sink their teeth in that's trying to kill the market. But just a really good week for your cattle feeders, for your cattlemen, for your calf guys, your cow-calf producers, everybody. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you might want to enjoy it. We've got a lot of cattle on feed, and they're coming down the pike. It is extremely dry. And you just look at, and probably the reason that your analysts were short on the placements is just looking the difference of the wheat that we thought we had, or we did have. We didn't think we were going to have it. We had it with some places like Amarillo, Texas, having the wettest August on the record of history ever, and then it just turned off dry, and you see what things turn out to be. Just the wheat fields look like a parking lot. There's still some cattle out there, but they're hauling hay to them. And some of those placement numbers that the analysts weren't thinking about were probably wheat cattle that went right into the feedlot. And I think a larger percentage of those than normal might have retained ownership on them because they had so much trouble getting them straightened up. And it just makes people sick to have to give up cattle that they had a hard time getting straightened up and had high hopes for, and a lot of them just had to find a place to go with them. But look at the board through the week. April live cattle futures, Monday was up $1.25, Tuesday up 82 cents, Wednesday up 35, starting to run out of gas, but you see how we were gaining all through the week. And like I said, on Thursday we started getting nervous because when we haven't traded any fat cattle and the board's been up all week that you're kind of in for it. Sure enough, Thursday down $2.55. But like I mentioned early in this report, Friday back up over $2, $2.02, as there was just resistance to those that were trying to break the market there. And you ended up with April live cattle futures at 124.62. That was up $1.90 for the week. Your February spot live cattle contract ended the week at 124.60, and with that big fat cattle trade, $2.50 basis to work with, and that's more than everybody expected. March feeder cattle, Monday was up 22 cents, Tuesday up $1.15. Wednesday did start to tail off, down 57 cents. Thursday down hard, $2.47, but back up Friday, up $2.80 with a strong close there, and ended the week with March feeder cattle at 146.72, up $1.12 for the week. Your January contract went off the board at 147.06, and they're tight to what cattle are bringing. But your fat cattle trade did not happen until after the cattle on feed report came out on Friday, late or in the afternoon, 2 o'clock Central there. But we didn't hardly sell a hoof. Well, it sure didn't on Friday. Sold a few through the week at maybe 123. But which would have been steady with last week, but didn't sell anything because Packers were hoping that it was going to be a real bearish cattle on feed report, and that even though your cattle on feed report doesn't have anything to do with cattle you're selling off the show list this week, it does lend pressure, and thought maybe they could use that to beat it back, since the board didn't crater again on Friday like it did Thursday. But none of that happened. And blew by some thresholds, just some marks. It's human nature. You know, guys are wanting to get that fat cattle market back to $1.25. Just sounds good. It feels good. Blew right by that, and even achieved the threshold on a dress basis of $2 a pound. And that's a big deal to get to those. And now we've got to them and buy them on the live market, and maybe that will ease things up to go on a little bit higher. But your live steers and heifers sold in direct in the feedlots, 127 pretty much everywhere in the 5-area feeding region. I didn't see a place that didn't have 127. They were selling Mexican cattle at 127, some mixed cattle at 126, but good demand there, and guys were shucking those cattle and cleaning up the show lists, although the show lists aren't heavy like they are now, like they're going to be here before too long when we start getting into a lot of those cattle that were moving you know, this fall from their spring calves. But up $4 on a live market. Your dress market, $2 even. That's up $5. Just a strong market. Box beef cutout values on the average of last week's trade, $206.70, up 81 cents, and selects at $200.74, up 23 on the average of the trade for the week, with your choice select spread just under $6. And all this happened with a disappointing slaughter because of the blizzards and everything up in the northern plains. It was hard to get anything done on Monday and some on Tuesday. But for the week, your slaughter was 588,000, and that's counting a big projected Saturday of 47,000, which is 20,000 more than the previous Saturday, but still not enough to catch back up. But that 588 compares to 615,000 last week, down 27,000, and 7,000 off of the same week a year ago. You look at your cattle on feed report, and like I said, it wasn't that bad. You know, maybe a little bearish on the placements, but nobody expects them to nail the placements. But they did nail the on-feed inventories, and they did nail the marketings, which was a little iffy there because there was a wide spread on the analyst guesses on the marketings, which you don't normally see. But they did pretty well notch those two. Your inventory for January 1st come in at 108.3. The average of the analyst guess was 107.7, so that's in there real tight, and that was not a big surprise and shouldn't hurt things at all. Now the placements, your analysts had the average guess of 96.9, right in there at 97, and it come out to be 101, or actually 100.7. If you listened to me on Thursday, I was afraid of that. I thought it would be very hard to have less than 100%, even though it didn't move that many cattle through the auction markets because of the way the holidays fell and everything, and some weather there. But like I said, I think a lot of those cattle that were being displaced off the dry wheat amounted to some of those numbers for your December placements, but not horrible. You look at some of your big gains were outside of your 5-area feeding region. California was up 28% on their placements compared to last year. Minnesota was up 11. Most of your main 5 areas were just right in there, close to 100%, pretty tight. Marketings come out exactly what they thought at 98.6, and like I said, there was a wide spread in there, and I'm not real sure why. You know, we had a different number of days, and then that falls kind of weird, but you know, we have a report that tells us exactly how many were slaughtered every day, and shouldn't miss that very far, and they didn't miss it. It was right on the bell at 98.6, so we're going to give the analysts a thumbs up on this week. But you look at your feeder markets, your real-time index on Beef Market Central ended the week late Friday at 146.63, down $1.20 for the week. Your cash feeders and your sale barns ended up mostly steady. You know, it was up and down a little bit depending on whether the weather got markets, and they didn't have a sale last week. But basically 2 weeks ago it was a wreck. Last week we saw a recovery from that wreck with your markets sharply higher. And then this week, especially by the time we got to the middle of the week where all the turmoil was at, it settled out pretty much steady. Your calves are a little bit stronger, with guys continuing to push hard for grass calves, and your lighter weight cattle sold $3 to $5 higher. You look at the Big Friday market that had a good test last week, Lexington, Nebraska, 3,000 head plus. You look at that report, the automated report on Cattle Market Central, which is brought to you right from the block as a clerk enters those cattle. But your popular weights, your 6 weights, 354 head of 6-weight steers average 655 at 162.30 on the average. 321 head of steers in the 7-weight category average 742 at 150.27, and 522 head of steers averaged 848 at 145.21. Another sale not too far from there that had a big market, and you know, these quotes are crazy. You know, if you're behind a tumbleweed in Oklahoma or down here in the Texas Panhandle, you can't obtain this kind of market on any numbers at all. You've got to have old money farmer feeders there that's got a couple of bins full of free corn and the last 2 trucks in from the field that nobody knows about that are full. That's the only way they can get this kind of a price and have the best cattle in the world where they do, and that's Burwell, Nebraska. And if you look on this quote here, individual quote on Beef Market Central, a half a load of red steers weighed 528 pounds at 205.50. They had another set of cattle off the Twin Pine Ranch there at Burwell, weighed 805 at 161, weighing over 800 pounds. But headed out this week to the NCBA Convention and Trade Show in Phoenix. If any of you guys are out there, go to the trade show. I'll be at the Merck Animal Health booth, which is number 529, and come by there and visit with me, and we'll talk about the National Beef Wire and everything that's going on. But that's a look at the week's markets from a home DV auction office here in Canyon, Texas. We'll talk to you next week.